Can loving a football team ruin your life? Ego, revenge, and football, a deadly trio that can completely wreck someone's life. Yo guys, welcome back to Atrides Data Center, the place where we break down awesome movies in a fun, chill, and totally non-boring way. Today, we're diving into The Hooligan, a story about a naive kid who gets sucked into the dark world of football hooliganism, all thanks to his obsession and personal grudges. Gang wars, betrayal, revenge that hits like a truck, this movie has it all. And the craziest part? Karma in this movie moves at lightning speed, bro. So, grab your coffee, sit back, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because we're about to break down The Hooligan from start to finish. Alright, let's roll. In the Polish drama The Hooligan, Kibic, blind fanaticism doesn't just mess with your head, it can straight up ruin your life.
Meet Kuba, a 17-year-old kid who grew up in the world of hardcore football supporters, following in the footsteps of his dad, Michael, a former gang leader. To prove his undying love for his favorite team, RKS Gladius Kuba goes all in, getting their logo tattooed on his chest. It's like getting your lover's name inked, but instead of a girlfriend, it's a football club. The problem? Michael just got out of prison. Back in the day, he was known as Tomcat in the Wolves Gang, a group that pretended to be die-hard football fans, but was actually running a drug business. Now that he's free, he wants nothing to do with that life anymore. But football? Oh, he still eats, sleeps, and breathes it. And he's super proud to see his son carrying on the family legacy of being a loyal supporter. Meanwhile, Kuba, who's desperate to earn respect from the older hooligans, is over the moon when Wolves' big boss, Zyga, invites him to join their inner circle. To Kuba, this is the dream. Finally, he's getting recognition from the people he's always looked up to. What he doesn't realize? He's about to play with fire. On the other side, we have Justina, Kuba's mom. She's exhausted. She's already seen her husband get dragged into this violent supporter world, and now her son is following the same path. No matter how hard she tries to keep Kuba out of trouble, the kid thinks he knows best. And the result? He dives headfirst into a world darker than your ex's soul after ghosting you. Then there's Blanca, Kuba's girlfriend. She's got this badass vibe, doesn't take crap from anyone, and is sharp as a knife. On the surface, their relationship seems sweet, but when you take a closer look, it's as toxic as expired soda, refreshing at first, but eventually it'll mess up your stomach. Honestly, it's not just Kuba and Blanca's relationship that's messed up. In The Hooligan, every character's dynamic is drenched in toxicity, especially the way some of these guys treat women, like objects, like trophies. If you're a female viewer, this movie will definitely make you want to punch a wall. But that's the point. It highlights just how primitive some of these mindsets are. Luckily, the women in this movie aren't just sitting around taking it. They see through the BS and play the game on their own terms. When fanaticism, money, and dumb decisions collide. In this world, power is everything. If you're alone and up against an entire community, you're basically like a plate of cold fried rice, useless and hopeless. Blanca actually plays a huge role in the chaos that unfolds, but somehow Kuba is the one who ends up paying the price. He jumps at the chance to work for Zyga, thinking it's his ticket to a better life, but reality hits hard. On his first day, he barely gets a chance to breathe before realizing the truth. Wolves are secretly selling drugs to their supposed enemies, Kosinierzi. Yep, on the surface, they're sworn rivals, but behind the scenes, business is booming. Because at the end of the day, as long as the football keeps rolling, so does the cash.
So, who wins? Who loses? And most importantly, who regrets everything the most? This movie brutally exposes the reality of hardcore football supporters. It's not just about the game. It's about ego, power, and a vicious cycle of destruction. And just like that, Kuba was making more money in a single day than he'd ever seen in a month. Of course, he got hooked. Meanwhile, Michael and Justina kept drilling the same warning into his head. Stay away from those guys, son. But let's be real. Parental advice is like app terms and conditions. It's always there, but nobody actually reads it. Michael had been in the same mess before. He thought he could make easy money. But guess what? That easy money came with a free stay at Hotel Concrete Bed, aka prison. And when he was locked up, did his so-called brothers lift a finger to help? Nope. He could have snitched to get a lighter sentence, but gangs have codes, and Michael chose to stay silent. Now, fresh out of prison, he was done with that life. Instead, he took the hard-working dad route, busting his ass at a factory to keep food on the table. But Kuba? Kid had the attention span of a TikTok video. He thought he was on top of the world, completely oblivious to the fact that life's a spinning wheel. 1 minute, you're up, the next, you're roadkill. Then came Blanca. Meeting her was like clicking on a pop-up ad that takes you to a sketchy website. At first, it's exciting, but soon enough, you regret everything. Ever since she entered his life, Kuba's world started swerving into the fast lane of chaos. Blanca was a tough girl, living alone ever since her grandma passed away. Her parents had dipped to the UK for work 6 years ago, only visiting once a year to say hi and drop some cash. Things were manageable until one day, the landlord hit her with an eviction notice. Buy the apartment or get out. And guess what? Her parents' response? Figure it out yourself. Parenting goals, am I right? Desperate times called for desperate and very illegal measures. That's when Blanca had her brilliant idea, skimming a little off Kuba's drug deliveries and selling it herself. But she wasn't just any dealer. She got creative, stretching the cocaine supply by cutting it with extra ingredients. And her first customers? The rival gang, Kosinierzi. Kuba wasn't thrilled, but hey, love makes you stupid. He didn't want to disappoint Blanca, so with a nervous heart but a greedy wallet, he joined in. And just like that, the cash started raining in. What started as just this one time turned into a full-blown side hustle. They were so close to buying the apartment, but then, plot twist. Zyga, the big boss of the Wolves, caught a whiff of something off. And when the boss starts suspecting you, you're already halfway to your grave. Kuba was cornered, interrogated, but he played dumb. Zyga, who had always had a sneaking suspicion that Kuba might be his kid since he had a little thing with Justina while Miko was in jail, finally got his answer after a DNA test. And just like that, any shred of mercy Zyga had, gone. He and his goons rolled up to Kuba's house, delivering a special gift, chopping off Kuba's hand. Now, every time Kuba looked down, he'd have a lovely little reminder of his epic failure. And just in case that wasn't enough, they also bashed his head in for good measure. Miraculously, he survived. But barely. After everything, Kuba was left in complete shock. He once saw the Wolves as his family, his football club as his religion. But in the end, it was all just lies and betrayal. He tried going back to watch an RKS Gladius match, hoping someone would still accept him. Instead of open arms, he got open fists. His own team beat the crap out of him. His life was in ruins, but he stayed silent. Report to the police? Yeah, right. He knew snitching would get him buried faster than a TikTok trend. So he swallowed his pain and kept his mouth shut. Trying to convince himself that none of this was his fault, he made a bold, reckless decision, switching sides. Out of pure spite, he chose to support Kosinierzi, the very team he once hated. It wasn't just revenge against the Wolves, it was his way of saying, screw all of you. Step 1, getting rid of the RKS Gladius tattoo on his chest. But instead of a laser removal session, he went full psycho mode. He peeled off his own skin. Hardcore. Mikal lost it. He had spent Kuba's entire childhood drilling loyalty to Gladius into his head, and now, his own son had switched sides. To Mikal, this wasn't just betrayal, it was soul-crushing heartbreak. And the wildest part? In Kuba's world, loyalty to a football club mattered more than family. Insane. But Kuba was done. He didn't care about honor, respect, or his father's pride. He just wanted to watch the world burn. So, what did he do? He pulled the ultimate middle finger move, burning the Gladius flag in Kosinierzi territory. This wasn't just about stirring up chaos. Kuba needed Krobry's trust. Krobry was one of the top dogs in Kosinierzi, and Kuba had to convince him that he wasn't the one screwing up the drug business. It was Zyga. At first, Krobry wasn't buying it, but then Kuba pulled out the ultimate peace offering, a Gladius flag, ready to be set on fire. Now that got Krobry's attention. An ex-Gladius boy offering to burn his own team's sacred symbol? Interesting. And just like that, Kuba doubled down on his mission to take down the Wolves and everything he once worshipped. The only problem? He forgot that real life isn't a video game where you can just switch teams without consequences. One day, Zyga sent Beka to deliver some goods to Krobry, but Krobry suddenly flipped and refused to pay. Zyga, though, wasn't the kind of guy who lost his cool easily. He knew that if he acted rashly, he'd be lighting the fuse for a full-scale gang war. So instead of going berserk, he decided to meet Krobry in person and talk things out. Meanwhile, Kuba was going full rebel mode. He ditched home and moved in with Blanca. To him, this was his freedom era. To his dad, McCall, it was an absolute betrayal. And when Kuba started trashing Gladius right in front of him, Miko couldn't take it anymore. Smack. Right across the face. Who even raised this kid? While father and son were throwing punches, Justina was still clinging to hope that she could fix their broken family. She begged Kuba to come back, but his stubbornness was on hard mode. So Justina switched to plan B, the legal route. If motherly love didn't work, maybe the law would. The cops had a suggestion: get Blanca to testify. Justina wasted no time telling Blanca how McCall had once been the Wolves' scapegoat. Back in the day, a brawl had ended in a death, and McCall took the fall. 6 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Justice? Yeah, right. The idea was that Blanca, realizing the truth, would talk some sense into Kuba and convince him to spill to the cops. But nah, Blanca wasn't about that life. Love makes people dumb. Kuba, on the other hand, was fully committed to escalating things from Cold War to actual war. He disguised himself as a Gladius member and lobbed a Molotov cocktail at Cozy's ticket booth. Cozy was officially out for blood. To prove his loyalty, Kuba took things way too far. He attacked one of Zyga's guys, Piru, and carved the letters Kos into his chest. Bruh, some people struggle to solve a crossword puzzle, and this dude's out here engraving people. Because of his little stunt, he had to go into hiding. Zyga was out for revenge. But since they couldn't find Kuba, guess who became the target instead? Mikhail. One night, Mikhail was chilling at a bar, minding his own business, when Wolves' guys rolled up, ready to start some shit. But Mikhail, unbothered. Dude was acting like he was on vacation. Meanwhile, Krobry was furious that he'd lost some of his men because of Kuba's antics. So he gave him a direct order: take out Zyga. Cozy had tracked down Zyga's location and was ready to end him. Kuba, finally realizing how deep he was in this mess, warned his dad, stay home on Friday. That was all Mikhail needed to hear. He already knew something was about to go down. And sure enough, when Michael saw Zyga and his guys hanging out at the bar, he immediately told them to get the hell out. Oh, and by the way, bro, I know you slept with my wife while I was in prison. So much for loyalty, huh? Zyga's ego shattered, his rage fully activated. And just like that, fists started flying, bottles were smashed, pure chaos. By the time Kuba showed up at the bar with his crew, the place was silent. There was only one person left lying on the floor: his father, dead. That was the price of all the destruction Kuba had set in motion. His mom had warned him, but he was too stubborn. Instead of living a normal life, he chased shortcuts. And when it all went to hell, he did what he always did: burned it all down. After Mishal's game over, Kuba was itching to go full send on Krobry, the boss of Kosinirsi's fan club, to wipe out Zyga, Piru, and Beka. The whole package. Buy one, get two free. But Krobry wasn't about to make reckless moves. The cops were already breathing down their necks, just waiting for one dumb mistake to lock them all up. That being said, Krobry still owed Kuba a favor. So instead of going all in, he promised to dig up Zyga and Piru's location. At least that way, Kuba could go on his little revenge tour by himself. Meanwhile, the police, who were still trying to untangle the Cold War between Gladius and Cozy, pulled up on Kuba with some hot tea. Beka had been arrested, which basically meant one thing: Beka was the fall guy for Zyga and Piru. Now, the cops were hoping Kuba would spill the beans on them. But Kuba? Hell no. This is personal, bro. He had already sworn to hunt them down himself. The problem? Zyga and Piru had vanished like ninjas, so for now, he had no choice but to wait. During this unexpected cooldown period, Kuba moved back in with his mom and sister. And Blanca? Yeah, she was there too. Plot twist? She was pregnant with Kuba's kid. Congrats, you're now officially a young dad. And now for the most random but also kind of cool part. In an attempt to live a somewhat normal life, Kuba went back to his old job at the lumber factory. His co-workers, being the real MVPs, hooked him up with a custom prosthetic hand. This thing was next level, multifunctional. It could cut wood, carve stuff, hell, with a few upgrades. It could probably open beer bottles too. Now, a normal person would use this new hand to rebuild their life, learn a new skill, maybe even start woodworking. But Kuba? F that. I'm using this to end Zyga. So when Krobry finally handed over Zyga and Piru's location, Kuba didn't even hesitate. He dipped from the factory faster than an employee who just got their holiday bonus. He snuck around, waited for the perfect moment, and when he saw them, zap! He tasered Piru so hard the dude started flopping around like an electrocuted catfish. Then, Piru became a human punching bag. Kuba absolutely went to town on him, beat him down with a baton until he was one hit away from uninstalling life. And Zyga? Dude got a chisel to the gut. Kuba was so close to finishing the job. But then, plot twist, Ola, Zyga's daughter, showed up. And suddenly, Kuba froze. His hands started shaking. His whole kill mode got shut down instantly. Why? Because Ola wasn't just some random kid, she was like family to him. Before Kuba could snap out of it, Zyga took the chance and ran for his life. And just like that, Kuba's big revenge plan? Game over. Meanwhile, Blanca was having her own realization. Justina might have been right all along. So she decided to snitch on Zyga's hideout. How did she know? Simple. She checked Kuba's phone. Ladies and gentlemen, never underestimate a woman on a mission. But she had one condition. The cops had to guarantee that Kuba wouldn't get his ass beaten, or worse, mysteriously disappear in the process. Kuba, still in shock from everything, failed his revenge quest. And, as expected, he got arrested not far from the crime scene. Meanwhile, Zyga and Piru, those two respawning bastards, escaped to Spain. Kuba wasn't thrown in jail because he felt like trying out prison life. Nope. He went in because Beka was there too. The only problem? They weren't placed in the same section. Beka was in for killing McCall. Kuba was in for attempted murder on Zyga and Piru. But Kuba was never the type to take no for an answer. This troublemaker had a plan. Step 1, act up in prison. Step 2, start fights. Step 3, piss off the guards. The goal? Get transferred to the same block as Beka. And guess what? It worked. Once they were in the same section, Kuba wasted no time making allies. He found 2 Kosinierzi gang members and hyped himself up like a damn influencer. Yeah, bro, I carved Kos into Piru's chest. Started a whole-ass war with Gladius. You know, just another day in the life. These guys? Instantly impressed. One moment, they were strangers. The next, they were Kuba's day ones. And then came the big moment. One fine day, when all the inmates were in the showers, Kuba knew this was the perfect time to execute Beka. With his 2 goons holding Beka down, Kuba pulled out his secret weapon, a razor blade shard. No hesitation. Slice. But surprise, surprise, Beka didn't die. Plot twist. Instead of finishing him off, Kuba's brutal move actually made Beka way more useful to the cops. See, the police were already losing their minds trying to track down Zyga and Piru. Those dudes vanished like ninjas. At this point, their best shot at cracking the Gladius and Kosinierzi drug empire was Beka. Problem? Beka was still loyal to his gang. No way he was going to snitch to the cops. Too much pride for that. And then, another plot twist. After getting this close to meeting his maker, Beka suddenly had a change of heart. Dude folded like a cheap lawn chair. He spilled everything about Zyga's cartel, exposing the entire operation. Next thing you know, the cops went full send, wiping out the whole drug network. Thanks to Beka's big mouth, the police tracked down the entire smuggling route from Poland to Spain. Zyga's guys who were still handling business? Busted. And now, a new problem. If Zyga's arrested crew got thrown into the same prison as Kuba? Yeah, game over for him. Survival mode. Activated. Kuba wasn't stupid. He started recruiting more allies in his block. But would it be enough to hold off the Gladius crew once they arrived? Or was he just a dead man walking behind bars? Now, let's talk about the final twist in the Hooligan. Kuba, out of nowhere, decided to break up with Blanca. Yeah, while she was pregnant with his kid. Classic dumbass move. But let's be real, Blanca wasn't just some random girl. She was smart as hell. She made a side hustle helping college students with their essays and theses for easy cash. But of course, karma came knocking. One of her clients got caught cheating and ratted her out to the professor. Ish, tea hit the fan? Her whole life was about to fall apart. Until, plot twist, Professor Wiktor Jaworski saw her actual potential and offered her a spot at his university instead. At first, Blanca played it cool, acted like she wasn't interested. But the moment Kuba kicked her out of his life, she packed her bags and ran straight to her bright future. Smart move. Last we saw, Blanca was sitting in Jaworski's lecture hall, ready to turn her life around. And honestly, best decision ever. If she had stuck around waiting for Kuba to grow up and start a family, she would have ended up miserable Justina style. But one question still lingers. Will Blanca raise the baby alone? Or will the kid never even make it into this world? Who knows? Meanwhile, Justina was still dealing with Mikolaj. Sure, she was finally free from McCall, Zyga, and Kuba. But family drama? Still there. As for Kuba, he was burning with revenge. The cops did offer him a way out. Just rat out Zyga and let the law handle it. But Kuba? Snitch to the cops? Hell no. He'd rather die than be labeled a rat. So he decided to follow in his father's footsteps. Full gangster mode. No snitching, just revenge. And what better way to do it than with his badass prosthetic hand? The same hand that got wrecked by Zyga's gang? Now it was going to be the weapon for payback? Poetic justice, right? Only problem? Zyga had disappeared again. But don't worry, plot armor still exists. Or will he be the one falling into a trap? What about Blanca and the baby? Will Justina finally find peace, or is she doomed to suffer? One thing's for sure, Kuba's life is turning into a full-blown action crime movie. Zyga escaped. Kuba ended up in prison. Blanca moved on, but Kuba's still stuck in the past. Revenge still burns, even though his life's already in ruins. And Kuba? Well, let's just say his prison stay just got extended. Not that he cares anymore. He knows his youth is going to rot away behind bars. And since there's zero hope for a normal life, he makes a genius decision. He cuts Blanca off completely. Blanca, of course, doesn't just sit there and take it. She drops a bombshell. I'm pregnant, Kuba. Boom. History repeats itself. Back then, when Justina was pregnant with Kuba, Michal was in prison. Now, Blanca's pregnant, and guess what? Kuba's in the exact same place. Life's on repeat mode, and Kuba only realizes it when it's too late. Justina tried so hard to keep her son from going down the same road, but revenge and ego turned Kuba into a lost cause. He thought he'd make his dad proud. Instead, he ended up just like him, locked up, alone, far from the people who actually cared about him. And to make things even worse, Justina's youngest son, Mikolaj, was starting to look up to, guess who? Gladius. One day, while walking past a Gladius supporter parade, Mikolaj automatically started chanting their anthem. Justina? She just stood there, holding back the deepest sigh of her life. She already failed to save Kuba, and now there's a real chance Mikolaj might follow the exact same path. But what can she do? Blanca moves on. Zyga gets his karma. Meanwhile, Blanca had zero interest in living inside a soap opera. So she sped off and enrolled in college, because unlike Kuba, she actually had a brain. And as for Zyga in Peru, they thought running away to Spain would be a fresh start. But guess what? They got executed. Not by their old gang, not by the cops, but by the Spanish mafia, bro. Turns out they picked the wrong business partners. So in the end, Kuba didn't even have to lift a finger. Karma did the job for him. And if Kuba ever hears the news, you just know he's gonna smirk and whisper, "Gracias, Señor Mafia." Final verdict, the war ain't over. Kuba wasted his youth in prison. Blanca moved on and built a new life. Justin is still scared that Mikolaj might repeat the family's past. Zyga in Peru, rest in peace. But here's the real problem. The hooligan culture in that city, still alive and kicking. And if nothing changes, kids like Mikolaj will just become the next victims of this cycle. If the system stays broken, more people like Kuba will keep being born. So now the real question is, can this cycle ever be broken? Or will it just keep repeating forever? And boom, that's how Kuba's revenge story turned into his own worst nightmare. A lost kid trying to find his identity, only to become a fugitive, land in prison, and lose everything he loved. Blanca moved on. Zyga got his karma. Kuba trapped in his own obsession. The moral of the story? Sometimes chasing revenge too hard means losing everything else in the process. But the scariest part? This cycle never stops repeating. Now, what do you think about this ending? If you were in Kuba's shoes, would you still choose pride? Or take a different path? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you won't miss more crazy content. This is Atreides, signing off. Stay safe, and don't get brainwashed by gangs. See you in the next video.